Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. You love our next guest as a correspondent on The Daily Show, but now Desi Lydic is going abroad in her new special, Desi Lydic, Abroad, where she confronts America's gender gap and how it stands up against a few other countries. Surprise, not so great. Let's take a look.
The U.S. is ranked 49th in the world when it comes to gender equality.
The United States needs to improve its performance.
It's way past time.
If I want America to be the best, I need to meet the best.
I'm gonna need an hour and a crew. And this NAACP award. I'm gonna take this.
I'm Iceland, and this is Desi. No, that's not right.
Feminism, it's not going to be the same everywhere.
Our women were in the front line.
I was on the front lines as well of my apartment reno and my co-op.
Military women.
Yeah, same.
Oh no.
Women are awake. We want more.
It leveled the playing field.
Believe that? We're still working on it. I know. I'm shocked too.
Iceland, Namibia, Spain.
We took their space. Let's make some trouble.
Let's make some trouble.
I just got a vagina tattooed on my arm.
Yeah.
No one said equality was going to be easy.
I'm ready to put the U.S. back on top.
Conquer yourself. Love yourself.
I conquer myself a lot, if we're being honest. In the bath, in bed, when I'm watching Wolf Blitzer.
Okay, you can't walk there.
Oh, it's okay. I'm an American.
Everybody, please welcome Desi Lydic. Let's hear it.
Thank you. Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I want to go over a lot of what's in the special and get into the details, but first and foremost, my question for you, and it's a question that I have for myself all the time and for lots of people who care about issues like this, is what is it like to talk about these things, to try to process them in the midst of what feels like an administration who is rolling it back even further than sort of where you even stand while you're talking about this?
Yeah, it is. It's incredibly frustrating. But part of what I love so much about getting to do something like this and working at The Daily Show is that it feels really cathartic to get to talk about it and work through it and find that sliver of something that could be funny about it. It feels like therapy, and I don't have to pay for therapy. So, because New York living is very expensive.
Does it ever feel like we are still, and I'll put myself in this as well, when I talk about politics, we are still sort of pushing for and fighting against something that existed even before this new president, and it's a different world, and we almost still haven't processed how to fight that specifically yet sometimes?
Yeah, I think this is something that gender equality in general is something that we've struggled with for a very, very long time, as history shows. Yeah. And I think things are definitely highlighted right now with the current administration. And I think what's so upsetting about that is that it felt like in some ways things are starting to move forward, and then we've got this guy in the White House, and then the Kavanaugh hearings, and then Georgia last week. It's like there's something happening, and it's really frustrating and confusing.
How do you maintain the overall fight when all of a sudden there's this weird barrier in front of it? And is it even in front of it? It's hard to tell because it's so stupid at times.
Yeah, I often don't understand it. I don't understand why it's so difficult to get a little bit of progress. But something horrible will happen, and then something wonderful will happen, like the recent midterm elections. And then I go, oh, great! We have more women than ever. This is really exciting.
You briefly mentioned the Georgia bill that just passed this week.
Yeah.
Again, this comes out on Monday, a week after that bill. What is it like to even be releasing that in the midst of an archaic, barbaric, primal, awful bill that just got passed in Georgia?
Well, I think for people who are upset about that, as I am incredibly upset about that, hopefully this coming out on Monday and the timing of it all will just be another way to start a conversation or continue a conversation that should have been happening for quite some time.
Now, for those of you who don't know, the Georgia bill was a heartbeat bill, and it made it so that women who are pregnant past 6 weeks can't get an abortion. They can be prosecuted criminally, go to jail for life, basically. And if they have a miscarriage, they can go to jail for life. It's really disturbing stuff.
And they can't leave state, I believe, as well.
If they leave state, they can be prosecuted as well. And it's kind of one of those things where it's unclear, like, if a boyfriend or an angry husband thinks that an abortion happened or that a miscarriage was on purpose, you could potentially go to court and have to go through an entire trial over it. It's
Horrible.
really disturbing stuff. So
comedy.
well, catharsis
Yes,
in a way,
exactly.
and also seeing how other countries do it, right? So you focus on Iceland, on Spain, and on Namibia, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about Namibia. What made you want to go there?
Well, I didn't know very much about Namibia at all when we started this process. The World Economic Forum puts out a global gender gap ranking every year, and when we found out that America was ranked 49th after screaming and yelling and throwing a shit fit. Can I say shit fit? Oh, yeah. Great. Shit fit.
Guys, who
all
was
over the
America above?
place. I think we were just above Peru. I think.
Soon Peru will be
Yeah,
ahead of us.
for now.
Yeah, we laugh now, but in a year, Peru will be like, ha, ha, ha.
Ha ha ha, America. Namibia ranked 13th. So we were 49, Namibia ranked 13th. I didn't know much about Namibia to begin with. And I thought, okay, well, what are they doing? What are they doing to have a high ranking? As it turns out, they have a really high percentage of women in government. They have almost 50% representation in government, which is incredible. And they are a developing nation. They gained their independence in 1990. Women were on the front lines. Women were part of writing the Constitution, so they have equal rights protections in their Constitution. And
Which is not something America
it's not
has.
something we have yet. It's only been a 100-year process for us. We are one state away from ratifying the ERA. So it's something we're really working on, and it was incredibly inspiring to go to this country and see what they're doing, and it's what it's doing for them is it's allowing laws to get passed that help women, and if those women weren't in the room, they likely would not be passed.
It might not even be heard,
Right.
or they would be antagonistic to the men in the room, in a way,
Right.
which we're seeing right now in America, that bills that support and help women are viewed as antagonistic to male leaders for some reason.
Yeah, I think there's a common misconception that feminism means that for women to do better, men have to do worse, and it isn't that. It's just all about equality. And I don't know where that came from. I guess
I think
fear.
American media did an amazing job through up until now, even now, allowing conservative voices often to define liberal movements for a number of years. So even if you talk to people who essentially believe in feminism for the most part, they believe in equality, they'll say something like, but I'm not burning a bra and I'm not doing this or that. And it's like, that's not even how has it been defined as that for you?
Right,
You know?
right.
And I think it's been defining images for so long for people.
Yeah.
I blame mainstream media.
When in doubt, blame mainstream media. Come on.
MSM, everybody. And you go to Iceland, and here you meet an amazing Icelandic rap group whose albums I'm going to listen to from now on.
They're amazing. They are so talented. I don't know what they're saying because they rap in Icelandic, so it takes a great deal of effort to try to translate. But they're.
Became an honorary member.
I did. I met with an all-female rap collective in Iceland, which is an actual thing that exists. They're like an Icelandic lady Wu-Tang Clan, and I hung out with them for the day. I watched them perform. They were incredible. We went out and we ended up at a tattoo parlor, and I got their symbol on my wrist, and barely regret it.
Boom. She's got a vagina
there.
on her wrist. It's pretty fantastic.
Some people wear their heart on their sleeves. I wear my vagina on my sleeve.
And it's your only tattoo, right?
It
Or
is.
do you have-
It's not my only tattoo.
Oh, you have other tattoos.
I do. I have other tattoos I regret. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
That is a very cool symbol. I wouldn't regret that.
No, I don't. I don't regret it. It's the upside down triangle, which is the symbol of female empowerment. Can you say vagina? I said shit. Can you say?
You can
I'm
say
assuming
vagina.
you can say vagina. It's a vagina. So yeah.
Now, we see some footage of you as a child wanting to be a journalist. Not the coolest profession for a child to want to be. I mean, it's amazing as an adult. We're like, yes, be a journalist. But children, I'm wondering what it was like to be made an honorary member of this group. Did you suddenly feel really cool.
Are you suggesting that I wasn't cool growing up?
I was one time made an honorary member of something, and I felt cool for the first time.
Oh yeah, let me tell you, you were correct in your assumption that I was not cool. I am not cool. I will never be cool. But by hanging out with a cool rap collective and getting a tattoo, I had a moment of glory.
And were you vaping in the footage of?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. My parents are very proud at what I've become. Yeah.
But what made you go to Iceland?
Iceland is ranked number 1
Wow.
on the global gender gap ranking, and they're one for a number of reasons. They have a high percentage of women in government as well. There, they are rapidly closing their wage gap, and part of why that's happening is because they have a really great parental leave policy. They have 9 months parental leave, and it's parental leave. It's not maternity leave. So men are also taking the time off to share the burden of the caretaking duties, which is something that's not particularly common here. I had a great maternity leave at The Daily Show. I was very fortunate to have that. My husband, I think, took maybe like a week and a half off, and he's very much an equal partner, but it's just not something that men necessarily feel like they can do here. It's not culturally accepted. They often, men and women, don't often have that option. So it was really nice to see that happening there. And what that does is it sort of levels the playing field in the workplace. So an employer isn't going to sit across from a woman and go, well, I would give you that raise or I would give you this job, but I might lose you because you might decide you want to have a baby, and then you're going to want fewer hours, or you're going to take time off. It's worked really nicely for them.
Yeah, Canada has a pretty nice. I don't know if it's parental leave, but their maternity leave is about a year, I believe, which is incredible. Whenever I hear of countries that have that, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
As a mother or a father, I'm just sort of like, when I think about having kids, I'm like, well, one of us has to work. We got to get a nanny. What are we going to do? How are we going to work this out?
It's very stressful, and many people just don't even have that as an option. So it takes a toll on a woman's health, even getting healthy again. Some women don't give birth naturally. Sometimes they're healing from a C-section, and it's the fact that we don't have that here is absurd to me.
Yeah, I know people who are on disability after a pregnancy just so that they can maintain a little extra time at home after the maternity leave is over.
Yeah.
I'm curious, part of being a Daily Show correspondent is sort of you have to create some kind of conflict with who you're interviewing, in the sense that the character that you have to portray. So even if you agree with the parental leave, you sort of have to feign shock and a sort of a shock to the point of like, well, wouldn't this hurt the workplace or hurt the economy?
Right.
In between takes, do you often say, hey, I'm going to play a character here, and then we're gonna, but this is amazing that you get to do this?
It is. We usually give people the heads up. You just be you, and you speak as you would respond normally, how you would sitting across from this person who might act like a lunatic from time to time. Just go with it and just, answer logically. We definitely have those conversations ahead of time, so people sort of know what they're getting. But I have definitely sat across from people who have like stopped the interview and been like, "I'm sorry, I don't know. What are you doing? Are you a character? Are you yourself? Do you really believe what you're saying?" Like, just go with that.
Like, how does that affect you as an actress? If someone's like, "I'm sorry, are you doing a bit right now?"
A bit,
like,
because I'm not buying it.
I guess that wasn't believable.
Sorry. That's what you get when you're acting with people who aren't actors. You're acting with someone who doesn't know that they're in an acting scene, and you're like trying to yuck it up.
Have you? There's obviously the people that you interview in this is mostly informational, and mostly people that I think the show agrees with and is trying to share a positive message about. As a correspondent, have you had to interview anybody that you vehemently disagree with and have struck up a kind of a serious conflict with in the interview?
I would say most of the time I've definitely sat across from people who I disagree with politically. There was this woman that I interviewed who was the founding member of the Trumpettes, Tony Holt Kramer, and she is the best character, but I
The
just
Trumpets, those three women that sing the Trump songs.
they sing the Trump songs. They are his all-female fan club. And she
Straight
is
gold.
She's gold. She is straight. She is incredible. And I completely disagree with everything she said, but she was so entertaining and so charming. I just sort of enjoyed every second of it. I usually will walk away from something and be like, how do they believe that? But I love this person so much. How could they have that set of beliefs? But
Those things for me, and I was actually just saying this backstage, I would not say they've been the silver lining, but it is things like that that have been the kind of save my soul element of the Trump presidency, which is the stories of him going up Air Force One with toilet paper on his shoe, or stealing a golf ball from a child, or the Trumpets singing these weird country songs in a YouTube camera, have all been kind of wow, well, culture has just gotten so stupid and ridiculous.
I know.
I'm living in a comedy movie. Okay.
The way he's terrified every time he goes down a set of stairs. He is so afraid of falling.
Don't get me wrong, it's not worth it. I would prefer him not being president.
Yeah.
But if he is going to be president, these things are the few moments that I can be oh, well, this is just so stupid, it's funny.
It is really entertaining. It is really entertaining.
It's very entertaining. And I think that's maybe one of the problems.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what got him there.
Yeah.
All that coverage and him being so entertaining. Yeah.
He's just so stupid. Let's vote for him.
No, yeah, why not? Let's see more of that.
And you go to Spain.
Yes.
What brings you to Spain?
Spain has a very large number of women in the cabinet. There are 11 out of 17 positions in the cabinet are women, as opposed to we have 3 here in America. There could be more, but Trump probably had them all sign NDAs, so we might just not know about them. There probably are secret women. But they have, and this was all just a recent decision. They recently had a Me Too movement of their own, and after they went out and marched and did a 24-hour strike, their government took note and their government listened. I thought, oh, that must be nice. What does that feel like? So I went to Spain to figure out what that felt like.
Oh, we had a record. I mean, you mentioned the midterm election. We had a record number of women voted into Congress during the midterm election. What has it been like then to watch them get attacked mercilessly by the conservative movement in this country?
It's tough. It's tough to watch that, but I'm grateful that we have so many more women now, and a lot of women are going to be running soon, which is really exciting. So we talked about it last night on The Daily Show, and kind of laughed about the fact that, at one point there was one woman who got all of the sexism thrown at her, and now there are 5. So that's great. At least they can share it. At least they can spread it around a little bit. It's kind of par for the course right now, unfortunately, but I think the more women that run and the more this becomes normal, and hopefully we see a female president in our future at some point.
More in 2020.
More in 2020.
That's for me. You don't have to agree with that, but that's what I stand Warren. That's me.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'm curious, we see the footage of you as a child pretending to be a journalist. When did acting become a part of that for you? Or were you a journalist prior to The Daily Show and this became a different side of you?
No, I can remember being 3 or so and obsessively watching Annie. Annie was and the movie version, and my parents recorded it on VHS off the TV, so it comes with it's with all the 80s commercials, and I would watch it over and over and over again, but I didn't want to be Annie. I wanted to be the drunk lady who was abusive to all the children. High goals, high life goals. I was it was Miss Hannigan was played by Carol Burnett, and I was just in awe of what she did. She looked like she was having so much fun, and she committed so hard, and she made me laugh, and I felt like that's what I wanted to do. Of course, I couldn't figure that out at 3 years old, but looking back, by 4 I was a full-blown alcoholic.
Someone was like, no, this is acting, and you can stop drinking now.
Oh, got it.
At 7, you went to rehab, figured it out, came back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Started
I'm better
auditioning.
now.
So when did you, did you transfer, or not transfer, excuse me, did you go from being an actress essentially to now kind of a journalist as well as an actress at the Daily
I
Show? How did
consider
that go?
myself a comedic actor. I moved from Kentucky to Los Angeles and found improv and found that I really loved improv, and that felt like my community of weirdos that I belonged in. And from improv, I found The Daily Show, and I was a huge fan of The Daily Show for many, many years and watched what the correspondents did on that show, Sam B and Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert, and I went, oh my, that's what I want to do. It looks like so much fun, and I love that brand of satire and the way that they were able to shine a spotlight on important issues, but make it accessible and funny and engaging. So that's kind of how I wound up in that world, but I still don't consider myself like a real journalist. I'm a fake journalist. Daily Show is like
I say
the
the same thing
original
about
fake.
myself too. Yeah. People say you're an entertainment journalist, and I go, oh, don't say journalist. I talk to people. It's a
Too
weird
much responsibility.
Yeah, and I have like the utmost respect for like
Me
real
too.
journalists who are like out in the field
Yeah.
figuring things out.
I am not trained for this.
When network news anchors call themselves journalists, I'm like, oh, I don't know, guys. Maybe save that for the person behind you who actually
real deal
reported
guys.
this story.
Right.
So basically, you were a news junkie, but an actress, and so that's how you got on the Daily Show and felt comfortable.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the show for a long time and had the opportunity to audition, and I put a tape together, and in the meantime, my husband and I got married, and we were starting to think about starting a family, and thought, all right, let's just see what happens. And we got pregnant right away, and I got a call from The Daily Show to come meet Trevor. And I went, oh my God, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna be pregnant. Do I tell them? Do I keep it from them? Do I get the job and then tell them later? And I decided to show up, audition, and then I pulled them aside and said, I would love this job and I will be here tomorrow, but you should know that I'm 4 months pregnant. I would be starting the job pregnant. And they went, great. Perfect. We'll use it, or we won't use it, whatever you want, which is the best. This should be a normal response, but it's not always. And so I feel very, very lucky that is where I get to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we have some time for questions from the audience. Who's a question? Hey, right here. Hi.
Hey, hi Desi. I
Hi.
think you're so hilarious, by the way.
Oh, thank
My
you.
name's Shantae, and so my question is: I saw your segment on the Daily Show about gender inequality and the wage gap, and so I was wondering if you've ever personally experienced that in your career, in comedy and stuff like that, or if you've been lucky enough to avoid it.
So much of that stuff is very hush-hush, which is why we should really have a little more transparency. I will say that as I was in the writing room for this special, I was offered a job, a side job, and I happened to find out there were 2 other actors that were going to be in this spot. And I happened to find out, because we share agents, that the male was going to be paid twice as much as what they were offering me. And because in some ways, I may have been desperate enough to take that job and gone, well, it's work, and maybe I'm not as qualified, and I'll earn it. I'll earn my way. But because I was so in the throes of talking about this, I went, no, I'm not going to take. No, I will deny that offer. And so it's still alive and thriving.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right, though. It's one of those things that we would never really know of, because we're also taught in America that it's a faux pas to talk about how much you make.
Exactly. It's rude to talk about how much
you make and who you voted for.
Right. Yes.
Which is essentially
especially being a Southern girl. I grew up in Kentucky. I went to charm school. So it's not something that we ever really talked about in our family.
Right, and it's clearly the top dogs being like, this is how we keep them down, guys.
Exactly.
Do not talk about how much you make.
Exactly.
Or who you voted for.
Yeah.
They may get some ideas.
Right. Yeah. Don't let them get ideas.
One more.
Hi, Desi.
Hi.
I'm such a huge fan of your work on and off The Daily Show. And I was just wondering, I feel like a lot of people nowadays use comedy as a way to work through a lot of the problems that we're experiencing in our country right now. And it seems to really work for you. And I was wondering when you realized that, comedy was a really good way to, both work through the issues, but also give people awareness as to what's happening.
Well, One way is I grew up in a very Republican family. My parents live in Kentucky. They have been known to watch Fox News from time to time and enjoy it, not hate watch it like I do. And
I love hate watch.
I know, it's kind of the best.
It's so I watched
Janine.
Sorry, I know you asked her a question, but I'm just gonna take up the spotlight just for a second because it's really I think it's so funny. New Year's Eve night, I watched the Fox News New Year's Eve special.
Oh, God.
It was the greatest fucking thing I've ever watched in
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
It was just every second, it was so close to spiraling into total chaos and falling apart. And one of the guys that they had as a correspondent in Miami was just wasted and hitting on women, like young girls as they walked by. He'd be like, hey. Anyway, guys, back to you. And then Kennedy was doing an impression of Nancy Pelosi that made no sense.
Oh, I bet it was on point. It was probably real on point.
It was so surreal.
New Year's Eve
and
coverage
strange.
of
Everywhere.
I mean, Don Lemon getting a nipple piercing.
Right.
I have feelings for Don Lemon that I don't think anyone else.
So like
that made me truly fall in love with him.
Take that desperation and that difficulty in terms of the technical coverage of a New Year's Eve special, and inject really bad, lame conservative politics into it, and you just get pure crack cocaine for me.
Oh yeah, I get why it's a popular network to watch. It is must-see TV. I get that. Yeah. Sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I heard you say hate watch Fox News, and it's something that I do quite regularly.
We kind of do that.
But you were saying that you grew up in Kentucky, and your parents are conservative.
My parents are very conservative, and we disagree on many things. But my parents happen to be very supportive and very loving people, and they're thrilled that I have gainful employment for this window of time. So they actually watch the show periodically, which gives me hope. And then I go, okay, well, maybe they'll tell their conservative friends and my other conservative family members, and maybe they'll watch the show, and then maybe the comedy will somehow be a great unifier. That's
Has
my
it been
Pollyanna. In some ways, yes. In some ways, we've had some very healthy conversations come out of pieces that I've done. But a lot of times it'll be like, well, I fast-forwarded through everything else, but I did watch your scene, and you were very likable. That's not a helpful thing for
I'm not sure if you have similarly conservative parents, but does your mother disagree with your father privately, like quietly sometimes? Like she's like, we watched it, and your father doesn't know, but I really thought that what you said about the wage gap was right.
No. I'm still waiting for her to say that. I am still waiting for her to say that. Maybe one day. No, they are teamed together on it. And if they're ever opposed to anything, it is very vocal and out there. Yeah. There's no passive-aggressive action in our house. It's all just out there.
What? No, I'm telling her that she was great. That I totally agree. Yeah. Desi, I love this special so much. I love you on The Daily Show. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Desi Lydic, abroad, but
also abroad.
There's no space here,
abroad.
but in the show there is a space.
There's a moment of a space, and then you see what we really mean. You think it's just abroad.
I like the first. No, sorry, I'm not even gonna do that.
I'm also going. It's both, okay?
A little bit of both.
I wouldn't call myself abroad.
I would
you
not
want to
call
me
you.
abroad?
No.
Yeah.
No, I do not want to. I don't call you that. Desi Lydic, abroad premieres Monday night on The Daily Show. Give Desi a round of applause.